There are encounters that penetrate us so deeply, they seem orchestrated by something greater than mere chance. People appear in our lives at just the right moments, carrying messages we may not understand immediately, but that resonate with an almost mystical, ancient wisdom. It's as if the universe guides us silently, aligning events, synchronicities, and emotions so that certain meetings can take place. When this happens, we aren't merely witnessing a coincidence, but responding to a call toward awareness, transformation, and self-knowledge. The signs may be subtle or intense, but all point in one direction, toward what within us longs to be seen, healed, and integrated. Have you ever felt that someone entered your life with a higher purpose? Share below with the phrase, "I trust the universe's signs and welcome what they reveal to me." Carl Jung believed that the human psyche is profoundly influenced by unconscious forces that shape our relationships, choices, and life experiences. Among these forces, synchronicity is one of the most intriguing. External events that coincide meaningfully with our inner states, despite lacking any direct causal link. When we sense the universe guiding us towards someone, we're witnessing a clear manifestation of this principle. According to Jung, synchronicity is the way the unconscious communicates with consciousness, shattering the illusion of separation between inner and outer worlds. Another fundamental concept is projection. We often project onto others aspects of ourselves that remain unconscious, as if the soul seeks self-recognition through meeting another. When someone appears strikingly in our life, they may embody our shadow, that which we reject or ignore within ourselves, or carry traits of the anima or animus, the feminine and masculine archetypes dwelling in the psyche and propelling us toward wholeness. These divinely guided meetings frequently serve as invitations to individuation, the process of integrating all parts of the self. It isn't merely about finding someone else, but about finding yourself through the other. The universe, then, isn't an external entity pushing us in random directions, but a symbolic language of the soul. Every time we heed this call, through unexpected encounters, intense connections, or repeated signs, we are truly being summoned to awaken to an inner truth. Often what we call a sign isn't something extraordinary, but a sequence of subtle events which, when observed attentively, reveal a symbolic pattern. The universe doesn't speak in words, but through experiences, emotions, and repetition. When someone enters our life repeatedly, when we hear their name in different contexts, when we dream of them without apparent reason, or when coincidences accumulate around them, we face signs laden with deep symbolic meaning. The key lies in inner recognition, the knowing sensation that something greater is at work. For Jungian psychology, these signs are manifestations of the collective unconscious, engaging in dialogue with our individual psyche. A classic example is recurring dreams. Jung held that dreaming repeatedly of the same person or situation indicates inner movements toward integrating unconscious content. Dreaming of someone you believe unimportant in waking life may actually be a signal from the unconscious, attempting to draw your attention to a forgotten or repressed aspect of yourself. Signs can also manifest in the body. Strong emotions, sudden hunches, chills, or an uncanny familiarity with a stranger, all may relate to archetypal meetings. When two people meet and feel an unexplainable connection, that experience often carries echoes of something ancestral, as if souls were reuniting, invoking memories not limited to this lifetime. But how can one distinguish an authentic sign from an emotional projection or unconscious wish? The first step is to observe the pattern. True signs tend to repeat symbolically, with coherence beyond mere logic. It's not about waiting for miracles, but perceiving how events link together meaningfully and profoundly. Intuition plays a vital role. If there's a quiet insistence within, a voice that won't be silenced, a persistent sense that there's something here, it's worth listening. Signs often emerge during transitions, the end of a cycle, a move to a new city, an existential crisis. In these moments, the unconscious stirs most powerfully, and the universe seems to conspire to bring us into contact with people who hold the keys to our next phase. These individuals may not stay long. Their presence can be brief yet transformative, or they may appear as antagonists, challenging our beliefs and inner structures. In each case, they carry a message. It's important to remember that identifying a sign doesn't mean forcing a story. The universe doesn't send messages to serve the ego's desires, but to summon the soul to growth. Sometimes, a sign warns us not to follow a certain path. Other times, It invites us to dive into a bond that challenges our comfort zone. Being attentive matters more than controlling. Mindful presence, inner silence, and a willingness to face the unknown are the true tools for deciphering the universe's messages. Relationships born this way, with symbolic markings, synchronicities, and emotional intensity, are anything but ordinary. They awaken us, disorient us, and above all, reveal. In these moments, the universe mirrors the soul. All that lies outside resonates with something within. When you feel with quiet conviction that someone didn't arrive by accident, trust it. The sign has been given. The journey begins there. Synchronicity, a term coined by Jung, is one of the deepest keys to understanding human encounters that transcend logic and chance. When two people meet under unlikely circumstances, when parallel events unfold with symbolic precision, or when we feel it was meant to be, we witness synchronicity in action. Beyond coincidence, it represents a convergence of inner and outer worlds, a living mirror between psyche and reality. To Jung, synchronicity is a manifestation of the collective unconscious expressing itself non-linearly in our world. It occurs when an archetypal connection links two seemingly unrelated elements. In essence, the universe responds to the soul's deep needs by orchestrating meetings, situations, and signs whose purpose is revelation. Meaningful encounters often carry this hallmark. They arise at critical life moments, bringing unconscious material to the surface for processing. When we sense we've been guided to someone by a chain of symbolic events, we likely stand at an internal turning point. The other person appears as a mirror, a catalyst for something already stirring quietly within us. Such encounters often occur during periods of crisis, emptiness, or seeking. In this context, the universe doesn't operate as an outside force, but as an expression of our own psyche moving toward wholeness. Synchronicity has both pedagogical and transformative power. It surprises us and demands reflection. Rather than numbing us before the mystery, it calls us to awareness. Thus, a synchronistic meeting shouldn't be seen only as romantic destiny or mystical sign. Its true value lies in revealing what is ready to emerge within us. The other person, in this sense, is not an end but a means through which something deeper manifests. There is also a symbolic resonance at work in synchronic encounters. What the other represents, the archetype they embody, the emotion they awaken, all compose a symbolic language. Repeated patterns, shared symbols, parallel dreams, or similar historical experiences lived separately, all amplify the encounter's significance. When these similarities accumulate unexpectedly, it's impossible to ignore the message. Importantly, synchronicity defies logic or deliberate planning. These meetings often couldn't be fabricated rationally. They happen organically, as if rehearsed on another plane. Reason seeks explanations, but the heart knows first. That sudden perception of meaning, where the significance imposes itself, is one of synchronicity's most authentic marks. It's not explanation that gives meaning to the meeting, but meaning that asserts itself. The purpose of synchronicity is to unsettle certainties and invite inner listening. It disrupts life's routine and confronts us with something seeming to come from without, but truly arising from within. Meaningful encounters, therefore, are external manifestations of an internal movement. They are the living symbol of the dance between conscious and unconscious, ego and self, surface and depth. The challenge is not to get lost in fantasy or idealization. Synchronicity does not promise happy endings, but genuine processes. The encounter may last one night or a lifetime, but its value lies in what it awakens. Living symbolically demands courage to interpret signs and humility to avoid controlling them. When the universe delivers someone through a synchronistic sequence, it offers more than companionship. It offers an opportunity for transformation. Recognizing synchronicity means embracing mystery as part of reality. It means opening to a form of knowing not based on proof, but on inner recognition. It means accepting that some encounters can't be explained, only experienced with presence, attentiveness, and deep listening. In that sacred space between two people, the invisible becomes visible, chance reveals purpose, and the universe, silently, speaks. When we feel intensely drawn to someone, more is always at play than mere affinity or desire. Often, this force pulling us toward another arises from deep unconscious mechanisms. Projection and the shadow are two central Jungian concepts. Understanding these processes is essential for decoding the true meaning of universe-guided encounters, especially those involving intense emotional bonds. Projection happens when we attribute to another aspects of ourselves we haven't yet consciously recognized or accepted. This may include qualities we admire or traits we reject. Early in a relationship, it's common to idealize the other. Seeing in them what we most desire in ourselves or feel is lacking in our own identity. Jung said that in such moments we aren't relating to the real person, but to an internal image, a construction of our own unconscious. That's why intense bonds are often accompanied by overwhelming emotions. The psychic energy invested in projection is so powerful it can cloak the relationship in an almost mystical aura. We feel we've known that person across lifetimes, that something predestined links us. Yet this sensation may largely stem from our own unconscious projecting, attempting to surface what's repressed, forgotten, or misunderstood within. The shadow, in turn, comprises all parts of our personality excluded from consciousness. This includes both negative traits and undeveloped potentials. When we form an emotional bond with someone, they often unconsciously trigger our shadow. This may manifest as inexplicable admiration, disproportionate anger, intense jealousy, or a vague sense of threat. The other becomes a stage where our internal conflicts play out. Here, an intense emotional bond ceases to be merely a love story or friendship and becomes fertile ground for self-knowledge. Jung maintained that by recognizing projection, we have the chance to reclaim those projected aspects and integrate them into ourselves. Though uncomfortable, this process is vital for individuation, the journey of becoming who we truly are. The other thus shifts from object of desire or aversion to a transformative mirror. Often we remain unaware we're projecting. We cling to idealized or demonized narratives because it's easier to deal with our created image of the other than confront our own psychic complexity. That's why relationships marked by emotional extremes, passion, resentment, or volatile highs and lows, often indicate a highly active shadow. The more intense the emotional charge, the greater the chance that the unconscious is attempting to emerge. Healing these bonds doesn't necessarily require distance but consciousness. By observing our reactions, examining our emotions, and asking ourselves, "What does this say about me?" we begin to break the cycle of projection. This doesn't guarantee an easy relationship or save the bond, but it ensures we use the encounter as an opportunity for psychic growth. The other ceases to be enemy or savior and becomes a catalyst. This awareness also alters how we read the universe's signs. We realize that sometimes we're guided to someone not to live an ideal romance, but to confront neglected parts of ourselves. The universe presents individuals who, in some way, activate those contents, not out of cruelty but because the soul seeks integration. The encounter stops being an end and becomes a symbolic rite of passage. Recognizing projection and embracing the shadow is one of the greatest acts of inner courage. It means admitting that what most attracts or disturbs us in the other resides within ourselves. That realization transforms the bond's very nature. What was once an external drama becomes a mirror of our internal maturation process. From there, we can love with greater truth, less illusion, and more presence. Not every remarkable encounter is meant to last. Not every intense connection will become a lasting relationship. Yet even bonds that dissolve or never materialize carry profound meaning within the individuation process, the central path Jung described for realizing the human psyche. When the universe seems to guide us to someone, many invisible layers are at play. Perhaps the most important is the call to embark on a journey toward wholeness. These encounters serve as catalysts, not necessarily for a relationship, but for inner transformation. Individuation is the process of becoming one's true essence by integrating fragmented parts of the self. This integration involves recognizing the shadow, dialoguing with the unconscious, developing emotional autonomy, and balancing psyche's polarities, reason and emotion, masculine and feminine, light and dark. To Jung, the self is the regulating center of this process, a kind of inner totality that guides us through images, dreams, and synchronicities. At this point, universe-guided encounters become crucial. They reveal, awaken, and point to what needs integration. It's common that after an intense meeting, one feels an irresistible urge to change. Habits, beliefs, even identity. That impulse doesn't come from the other, but arises from within, catalyzed by the symbolic presence of another. What began as mysterious attraction or affinity becomes an opening to the new, an invitation to question repetitive patterns and leave behind older versions of ourselves. The encounter transforms into a psychic portal, a transition from a previous state to a new possibility of being. These experiences, however confusing or painful, hold initiatory value. Many spiritual traditions view initiation as a confrontation with the unknown, a symbolic death of old identities, and the birth of broader consciousness. In analytical psychology, guided encounters often fulfill this function. They lead us to the threshold between ego and self, between the socially constructed persona and the deep soul yearning for expression. In this context, the other's presence doesn't complete us, but reflects us. The true purpose of these encounters isn't fusion, but individuation, not dependency, but revelation. That's why such bonds are often challenging. They force us to face aspects we'd rather hide, make decisions that confront our fears, and open wounds we thought long healed. Yet it's precisely in that discomfort that the soul works. For individuation is neither linear nor comfortable. It's a journey of courage, detachment, and truth. Another important aspect of this process is integrating the anima and animus, the feminine and masculine archetypes within the psyche. Encounters with people who symbolically embody these figures are deeply transformative. When the universe places someone before us who awakens these archetypes, it's as though we're invited to integrate qualities we've yet to recognize in ourselves. Through the relationship, we develop sensitivity, assertiveness, empathy, strength, surrender, and discernment, qualities belonging to both masculine and feminine, regardless of gender. Thus, individuation isn't about finding oneself in another, but finding oneself through them. Universe-guided encounters fulfill this role because they occur in harmony with the psyche's inner movements. They aren't accidents or promises of eternity, but messages coded as people, moments, and emotions. They are living mirrors of what's gestating within us, what's ripe to emerge into consciousness. By understanding this, our approach to relationships changes. We stop seeking emotional guarantees and begin seeking meaning. We relinquish control and open to mystery. We accept that some people come to teach us, others to shake us, and still others to push us forward. And all of them, without exception, participate in a greater plan, not of the universe as an external force, but of the soul urgently yearning to live its fullness. Therefore, the hidden purpose of seemingly guided encounters is to help us remember who we truly are. They aren't detours or shortcuts, but integral parts of the journey. Looking back, we see that each significant connection brought us closer to ourselves. That is the greatest gift the universe can offer, not another as destination, but oneself as revelation. With every unexpected meeting, every persistent coincidence, every emotion that sweeps through us inexplicably, there is a silent call from the soul. The universe, as a symbolic expression of the unconscious, doesn't push us away but invites us to return to the center, to the essence, to the totality we are. When someone emerges powerfully in our path, what matters isn't merely their presence, but all they awaken, reveal, and transform. By learning to interpret the signs, welcoming synchronicity, recognizing projections, and embracing the individuation journey, we begin living relationships as rituals of growth, not as promises of completion. We learn to hear the invisible, to trust life's symbolic flow, and to honor every person who crosses our path as a messenger of something greater. If this reflection has touched something in you, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. Here, we explore together the profound paths of self-knowledge and the soul. And before you go, watch the video appearing on the screen. It might be precisely the next sign you needed. The universe speaks, the soul listens, and you are ready to live with greater truth.